Greetings, NFL fans. Today is Friday, November the 7th. This is the Shutdown Corner podcast. I am Kevin Kaduk, here as always with Frank Schwab and Jay Busbee. We are coming off a pretty interesting Thursday night game. I tuned in at the beginning. I was there at the end. I don't know why I was there at the end. I was probably just to see how bad Andy Dalton could really be. But it was one of those. It was one of those Thursday night games where there was like actual consequences. We saw one team going one way, another team going the other way. There was something for you to write about, Frank.
Not a good game. Let's get that out of the way right now. It was not good, but yeah, it was really. I mean, where we stand right now with both of these teams is fascinating. I thought a lot happened last night, and none of it was good. You couldn't turn away though. You really, honestly. You watched until Jason Campbell came in the game because you wanted to see how bad it was going to get for Andy Dalton. And you could see early. I tweeted this on the Shutdown account on the first interception. I said, "Oh, bad Andy showed up tonight." You could tell. It's just that's who he is.
Well, we have these games. We have the video series and the montages where you see someone rising above circumstance to perform on an epic level. But the other flip side of it is we do want to watch and see just how bad something is going to be. It's this kind of car crash mentality. And man, Andy Dalton just ran it off a cliff last night.
The greatest thing is that they're cutting the commercial during that game. It's, here comes Andy Dalton surprising some random woman at a BW3. It's just like, oh.
It may have actually been a live-action shot there. He might have
could
just
have
been
been, yes.
out. Yeah.
He had a 2.0 passer rating last night. 2.0. You realize how, I think if you throw an incomplete pass and that's it, if you're 0 for 1, your rating is like 30 or something like that. To get a 2, you have to be aggressively awful. You have to really, really try to be awful to get a 2.0 passer rating.
Yeah, 2.0 is not a good number kind of in the whole scheme of things, right? There's Web 2.0, which I still don't really understand what that means. What other 2.0?
If your GPA is, our colleague Eric Hedholm pointed out this morning, if your GPA is 2.0,
that's not good.
You're not.
I probably would have taken that. I probably would have taken 2.0. I probably would have been a little bit of a bump up. Yeah. I was a few short completions away from a 2.0.
If someone can think of a good example of a 2.0, hit us up on email. We'll mention you next podcast. 2.0 is just not good.
Yes, if you happen to judge a member of the opposite sex, male or female, as a 2.0, that's
again,
that's
I'm probably a couple completions away from a 2.0 there as well. So
I guess an earthquake at a 2.0 is kind of good.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, rock and rolling.
So.
Wow. But I think, the funny thing is, it's here are the poor Cleveland Browns who have been waiting for this moment forever. They have not.
I was just going to say this. There's got to be some fans signing on to Shutdown Corner this morning, just cursing your name for just focusing on all the bungles, and saying, wait, why aren't the Browns getting the props? And the Browns should be getting props.
They played great last night. They did. And all of a sudden, a team that hasn't won a division title since 1989, the old NFC or AFC Central. They're right. They're right there. They are right there. And I know everybody's probably going to pick the Steelers at this point because they're a hot team, but the Browns are 6-3, and they played great last. Joe Hayden shut out AJ Green. I was going against AJ Green in a fantasy league, and I was thrilled. He was wiped out of the planet yesterday. Their offense looked great. They got these 3 running backs that they just rotate in, and they're all good and they're all fresh. Hoyer clearly outplayed Dalton last night. Anybody outplayed Dalton last night, but Hoyer played well. And nobody's talking about this at all. They play one more game without Josh Gordon, and then they get him back. And Josh Gordon was the best receiver in the NFL last year. And nobody's talking about this, but they add a guy who literally was the best receiver in the NFL last year in 2 weeks. I'm kind of believing in the Browns right now. I know it's a crowded AFC, but boy, they are.
They have to be looking at the schedule and salivating because next week they get the Texans at home. Ryan Mallett, the Ryan Mallett show.
You're favored.
You got to win that game. Then you go at the Falcons. Sorry, Jay, I think that's probably a win.
Win that.
If it's not, it's a black mark on the Browns.
They did lose to Jacksonville, but okay.
And then they go to the Bills, which is probably
that's a good game.
Yeah,
really
that's wild card.
Unwinnable. If you could win at Cincinnati, you could win at Buffalo too.
And it gets a little tougher. You get the Colts at home, which at least you're getting them at home.
Statement game.
Yep.
Bengals at home.
Well, yeah, why can't you beat them at this point?
At the Panthers, a team that could have packed it in by then.
Yes, they probably packed it in right now.
Then at the Ravens on Sunday, December 28th for a possible, maybe the AFC North titles on the line.
And who knows what they're going to, what anything. You might, by that point, you might clinch. You don't know. You just don't know going into Week 17. The Ravens might be out of it or clinch their seed or whatever. So, you just don't know with Week 17. So
yeah, I think it's all about the next 3 weeks for them.
Yeah.
They
really they're really going to regret that Jaguars loss. I mean, they'd be 7-2 right now if you just beat the Jaguars. And boy,
you're riding a 6-game winning streak.
Yeah, I know. So, but at the same time, they should get the 10. They should get the 10 wins.
And then looking forward from there, what does that do for Brian Hoyer? I mean, it does a lot for his bank account. He's going to cash in. But what do the Browns want to pay him when they've got Manziel sitting on the bench? All of a sudden, Brian Hoyer's made himself a few bucks this season.
They have to. And I've written about this a couple times, and of course, people who like to comment and email just, like, this means nothing. This is just making stuff up. No, it's not making stuff up. This is a very interesting thing the Browns are going to have to deal with in the offseason, where you have a quarterback who there's no way you could just let Brian Hoyer go right now if you're the Browns. You've waited so long for a competent quarterback, and here he is. I don't know how you got him, but here he is. He's there for you, and he's playing great, and he's 6-3, and you're doing great. And what do you do, though? You don't draft Johnny Manziel, the 22nd pick or whatever it was, to sit him on the bench for 4 years.
I was going to say, do you sell
is this the ultimate example of a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to the offseason, why not try to extract some value out of Manziel from Jerry Jones?
Exactly. Yeah, nobody knows his value.
But could you do that?
But remember, Jerry Jones passed on Johnny Manziel to take an offensive guard. Who's a very good offensive guard. But I'm just saying,
then he's come back and said, I sure wish I had him.
If there was some kind of a mania to get Johnny Manziel, people would have drafted him. I don't know that the market's there. If you're a team, you're right. Dallas. Let's say Dallas. You're Dallas, and Cleveland comes to you and says, we want a first-round pick. Dallas laughs at you and says, no. Okay, so what do you give him? A third? Do you sell that low on Johnny Manziel right now? You just drafted him in the first. Do you then turn around and trade him for a third, a fourth? I don't know.
You don't think that the Browns could go and dangle Manziel, who has not done anything to worsen his draft stock, as if he were entering the draft next year, dangle him in front of the Redskins, dangle him in front of somebody else that needs a quarterback?
But these teams would have drafted him originally if they liked him that much. I mean, he slipped that far for a
different year. I mean, with the Cowboys, are they going to give him, one first-round draft pick? No. Are they going to give him 2 first-round draft picks? Maybe, definitely no. A first-round draft pick, probably not. Yeah, it's an interesting situation. Yeah. It is very interesting because this isn't Josh McCown and Jay Cutler.
No, this is more like, Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees, really, but not to that level. I don't think either of these guys are at that level, but you have a really interesting quandary right now in Cleveland. What do? You can't, I just don't know how you could, let's say that they just said, you know what, we've invested in Johnny Manziel, screw it. We don't think Brian Hoyer's an elite guy. We're not going to pay you $80 million or whatever it's going to take to sign you. We're letting you go. We're going to go Johnny. If Johnny stinks, your entire fan base is just, there's pitchforks outside your office every day. You can't be wrong on that one.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that Manziel will never be more guaranteed valuable than he is right now.
Right.
Because nobody knows what he can do, and he hasn't done enough to screw it up.
Well, except everything that happened this offseason might have screwed it up a little bit.
No, I mean in terms of on the field.
Yeah.
And plus you got Jameis Winston coming out. Manziel's going to look like a choir boy next to him.
The fact the Browns are even in this position right now. A team that has had 0 quarterbacks over the last
all of a sudden they got
25 years.
I'm fascinated by the whole situation. I have been since you started to see it, kind of like, oh wow, this is going to be a really interesting decision. It's going to be, because I don't know what they're going to do. I said I assume they just re-sign Hoyer. Who knows? Maybe over the next 7 weeks Hoyer just falls apart. That's possible, but. If they do go to the playoffs with Brian Hoyer, there's a 0% chance he's not the quarterback next year, right?
Wait. If they do go to the playoffs,
with Brian Hoyer, There's a 0% chance he's not their
Right,
quarterback.
yeah, they're not.
I use like 18 negatives.
I was trying to wend my way through that. I was like working through a crowded backfield there. Yes, he would be back if he took them to the playoffs.
He has to. There's no way you dump him after you go to the playoffs.
That is crazy. That is nuts. Let's say something crazy happens this year, and the Browns and the Bills meet in the AFC Championship game. Who would you root for as a nonpartisan?
Wow.
Like, which story is better?
Wow. You know what? Strangely, randomly, stupidly, I've always kind of had a soft spot for the Browns. I always, back in the old Municipal Stadium, I mean, some of those playoff games they had in the late 80s, I would root for him, Bernie Kosar and all that. I had nothing against the Bills, but I think
a soft spot for both. This is a hard question for me because the Bills, I've always liked the Bills because they were my Tecmo Bowl team. Everyone knows that.
I was too. Yeah.
Everyone knows the affection you have for your Tecmo Bowl team. So I do like the Bills. The Sabres are my Eastern Conference hockey team. They're not very good this year. But the Browns, I've always wanted the fans of Cleveland to break that streak with the Browns. The Indians would be cool. Cavaliers, whatever. Like NBA championship is worth like a sixth of a other real championship of the other three sports. So I wanted them to do it with a World Series or Super Bowl, but I think it would be preferable with a Super Bowl at the Browns. I think I'd root for the Browns.
Yeah, probably. And Browns fans probably freaking out because the Cavs are like 2-4 now. Oh my God, what's wrong with LeBron? They're reading the whole Bill Simmons, Mike and Mike feud, going, oh my God, you're right. Bill's right. LeBron's not.
Let's slam Dr. Saturday right now. Let's get some little inner podcast.
Get some podcast on podcast crowd.
Go after Wyshynski versus Merrick.
Yeah, we did a little of that yesterday during the day. Little back and forth, and the funny thing was that people that didn't know what was going on, I took a shot at our golf writer Ryan Boungy. He had no idea what was going on, and he texted me, "Did I do something wrong? What's happening?" No. Just scroll back in the timeline a little bit. All's good.
There's this fork in my back. Good for the Browns. I'm excited to see them I'm excited to watch them every Sunday. And I'm sure they'll probably screw me when I tune in to watch against the Texans on Sunday, November 16th, but I don't know. For the next 9 days, I am a bandwagon Browns fan.
Yeah, sure. It's great. It's great for the NFL, I think. It really is. When teams like this rise up.
We are all Cleveland.
Witness.
Well, that's the best part about this NFL season. As long as you don't have a particular rooting interest, as Kevin and I can attest, as long as you can distance yourself from your hometown team, there's just about everybody's got a shot at this thing, or has had a shot at it. Has been rotated in, with the exception of Jacksonville and Oakland, and even they've had a couple of decent games where they've risen up.
Yeah, like I said, I think I said Tuesday. There's 11 teams in the AFC with at least 5 wins. I mean, this means 11 out of 16 are feeling like, hey, we win a few. Yeah, we're going to make the playoffs. It's pretty cool.
Who's the least interesting team to watch this year, you think?
The least interesting good team, because the Giants are god awful, and I wouldn't watch the Buccaneers if paid me, or the Jets, but the least interesting good team.
Yeah. The Buccaneers and Jets are kind of fun to watch in a.
How are they going to screw it up this time?
Yeah, I just think about just vanilla, boring, kind of there. I think it'd probably be the Texans.
I like watching JJ.
Yeah, you still got JJ Watt there to do something insane.
You know what? Honestly, you know who it is? You know who is a team that if you actually watch them, they're not interesting at all, is the Seattle Seahawks. They've played boring football since week 1. They haven't been very good. They kind of win. Like the Raiders game. Like, they let the Raiders hang around the whole time, but you know they're going to win, and they win. And it's like, okay, they're not a very interesting team this year. They're kind of mediocre. I was doing the picks, and I kind of said, they're 9-point favorites against Giants, and I picked the Seahawks because of last year. That's all. I picked the Seahawks because of last year, because they're not a good team this year. They're just not. I mean, I think will be a good team, but they're not. And they're not interesting to watch right now.
I'd go with the Ravens unless they're on defense. Defense tends to be a little bit more interesting with the Ravens, but offensively, it's unless Steve Smith is on a route, it's just the same old Ravens.
Ravens are always boring to watch. They are. I mean, let's be honest. Like, when was the last time you watched a Ravens game and you're like, ooh, wow, that was great. That was really exciting football.
Yeah. The Ravens do nothing for me. They don't. Hey, real quick, Jay. Yesterday I was texting with Frank. you're putting together a NFL show, and someone tells you have to put either Deion Sanders on it or Ray Lewis.
Oh,
who are you picking? Here's a gun to your head.
I'm calling my family and telling them goodbye because I would probably go with Deion because Deion.
That's what I said too. That's what I said.
Yeah, I mean, Ray Lewis, he is emphatic, but he says nothing. It's just complete volume. If you actually if you ever read a transcription of what Ray Lewis says, it's like the iPhone wrote it for him. It's just one of these kind of automatically generated haikus of motivation. But Deion actually knows what he's talking about. It's just filtered through his own ego.
Deion's awful. Deion is about Deion. Like, Deion thinks that people tune into NFL football to watch Deion Sanders.
Right.
That's what I said to you, Frank. Though I said Deion sits up there, and I think he knows that everything's coming out of his mouth is a lot of crap. I think he knows that. I think Ray Lewis sits up there and thinks like he is like an absolute genius with what is coming out of his mouth. Everything that comes out of his mouth is so astute and or at least he thinks it's profound. I can't take it. Deion's an idiot. I ripped Deion on the morning of a Super Bowl last 2 years because he is a hypocrite, and we all know that.
So bad.
No one wants to watch either of those guys, but if you force me to, I'm going to watch Deion.
I don't mind Ray Lewis. I don't have an active, there are other guys on that set I dislike more. Let's put it that way. I watch it. I'm just like, okay, Ray is getting the crazy eyes now and going off and whatever. But I don't when Deion comes on my screen, I just, no, I don't want to watch you, Deion. I don't want to hear what you have to say right now.
All right. Let's move on to our picks of the week. We'll do our lock of the week, our upset of the week, and the game we'd pay to see. I will start with our lock of the week. Frank, you are on the board.
Oh, boy, lock of the week. I want to say one thing real quick. The Steelers are only favored by 4.5 or 5 over the Jets, and that leads me to believe that the odds makers in Las Vegas know something we don't. That's who on earth is picking the New York Jets this week? Who's going out and saying, yeah, +5, hook me up, definitely. Yeah, how could it be I guess it has to be the Broncos over the Raiders. I mean, there's just no way, right? There's just no way that the Raiders are going to win number 1 against Denver Broncos. So I think that's kind of safe to say your Denver Broncos are your lock of the week.
Yeah, I figured that was the gimme pick. I went with Seattle over the Giants. Same sort of reason. If Seattle is going to have any chance this season, they've got to have a convincing win. The Giants seem to have completely forgotten how to play the game of football in the National Football League. If I can be my announcer voice there. And I think Seattle is a good bet to take out the Giants.
Okay. I'm going with the Saints over the 49ers. I think that's probably one of the better matchups that we're going to have.
Yep.
But I think we're going to see the same thing that happened to the Packers, happen to the 49ers. They're going to go down there, and they are going to get shell-shocked by the Superdome. I just think that 49ers offense won't get anything going there. I think Kaepernick's on the slide. We're looking at 4-5 for the NFC Championship losers. And
but the thing is, this is the must-win. If you're the 49ers. Right? This is
a pivotal game.
Exactly. What have you seen from the 49ers that shows that they've had the leadership and or any sort of game plan to get that done and put something away for a game they needed to win? Hasn't been there.
I agree. I don't know how it could happen because they've looked like they've earned 4-4. Trust me. And
yeah. Now, if you're telling me they're going into someplace like maybe Lambeau, which is a home edge but not an overwhelming one. You're telling me they were going into Pittsburgh, a tough environment, even like Arizona, but they're not going down to New Orleans and winning that game.
Nah, the Saints are just a different team at home. It's crazy. They just morph into the 1989 49ers at home. And then they go on the road and they're just a bumbling, probably under 500 team. I don't get it. I don't think I've ever seen a split like this. This is like Colorado Rockies hitters hitting 380 at home and going on the road and hitting 220. It just doesn't make any sense.
All right. Who's going to upset this week?
You know what? And Lions fans, I'm just going all in on Lions fans emailing me for the rest of the season. I got the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are playing good football. Even with Megatron back for the Lions, I think at some point we're going to see the Lions for what they are. They're barely beating the Saints at home. They're barely beating the Falcons in a neutral site. That makes them a great team? I don't know. I don't think it does. So I think the Dolphins are playing good, and I think you're going to beat the Lions, and we're going to say on Monday, the Lions again.
Yeah, I took the same pick, so I'll move one notch down on my list here and say that if the Tony Romo is unable to play, then Jacksonville might have half a chance against Dallas, and it would be fun to see what would happen. I mean, it would be fun in kind of watching a baby try to eat broccoli kind of way, watching Brandon Weeden against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I think that's the only way they have a chance.
Yeah, I'm going actually with the Jaguars too across the pond. They're the home team. That's got to count as a lot, right?
Oh, yes, it does.
Big advantage. Big advantage.
Yeah. But I think
you guys think that the 6-3 Cowboys, let's say it's even with Brandon Weeden at quarterback, you really think they're losing to the Jaguars? Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I just tell you. You're not taking it away from me.
The Cowboy dynasty is at an end.
This is just, it would be, let's say the real story would be if Tony Romo plays and they lose. Like, then it would just be panic. Just, oh my God, they might not even get to 8-8 this year. Like, it would be full, because you're going into the bye week after that with the Cowboys. So it would be 2 weeks of just the Cowboys nation is just done. Like, they're just imploding. It would be unbelievable.
How are they even considering letting Romo play?
You know what? Here's the thing, and it's like, we've heard about the injury, the 2 fractures in the transverse process, but are you really and truly, we know that the Cowboys have so much invested in Tony Romo, and Jerry Jones treats him like his son, basically, that I think really if there was that much of a risk, they wouldn't play him. They wouldn't even have taken him on the trip. I think that he's the guy of all the guys on that team you're not throwing out there if he's not ready.
Yeah. You think there's anything for said to be like the decoy? Let's make the Jaguars plan for both guys.
No. You don't need to plan for Brandon Weeden.
I was gonna say, the Jaguars have enough trouble planning for one.
And I don't think you're going to stick your quarterback who's got a broken back on an 8-hour flight each way just to play a decoy. Like, that's just not happening. The second he got on that plane, the plan was he's going to play. Like, you don't waste your time like that, especially with a bye week next week. I don't know if it's the smartest thing. Maybe you just try to beat the Jaguars with Brandon Weeden. But again, the Cowboys have so much invested in Romo that there's no way that they're throwing him out there worried about him getting worse.
Real quick, they announced the 3 London games for next year, and the host teams are the Jaguars, which is part of the 4-year deal, the Chiefs, and the Dolphins. And
Chiefs giving up a home game is crazy. Crazy.
Kevin. Yeah, it's really nuts. And there's Chiefs fans saying, "Well, wait a minute, now 25% of my money is going to completely worthless games," or whatever the percentage was. Whatever their season ticket package, more of it is being taken up by the preseason games. But they're saying that if teams want to be considered for a Super Bowl, that they have to go over there and play, which is kind of crazy because if you're the Dolphins,
that's such a
one. No one's going back there until they fix Pro Player Stadium or whatever it's called now, and 2. You really think like the NFL is gonna, like, if they do fix that stadium, which I guess they are, like Stephen Ross is shelling up sort of his money. I don't know. I haven't kept that close of tabs on it. But if they do fix that up, is the NFL really going to say, "No, sorry, we're not going to have it in Miami"? I mean, I guess maybe they would.
Yeah, they
politics
would.
Go, but.
I mean, it depends. If you get the public taxpayer money, they would. I mean, they reward teams that extort the public for tax money. That's what they do. So, but the Chiefs is the interesting one to me because. Are we really honestly led to believe that the Chiefs are going to host a Super Bowl? I like Kansas City. I like it a lot. I like going there. I hope it gets a Super Bowl. It'd be awesome.
I think it matters how much. I mean, how much influence does Clark Hunt wield? And I guess he's on that international committee, so something does. But yeah, like, are they really going to have any Kansas City?
Not only that, it's simple math here. You've got 6 teams going over there. That bumps it every year. 6 teams. Every team has a chance to get the Super Bowl, and it keeps getting bumped every year. 6 years further down the line, there's only so many teams and so many Super Bowls in the next 2 decades to fit in.
Yeah, and
just
there's teams with
really
stadiums that have to get it.
It seems like a really silly promise for the NFL to put out there, and then actual teams that draw well and sell out games be like, okay, sure. I mean, because you send the Jaguars over there, whatever. If you're sending the Dolphins over there, the Dolphins don't sell out every game. Okay, fine. When you start getting the Chiefs involved,
right. And they were, some people were speculating that like maybe the decision's been taken away from them, but you're going to see fans. Can you imagine the Packers being told like, yeah, you got to give up a home game to go to London? Like, what? Like the people of Wisconsin would go to New York en masse to Roger Goodell's office. Like, no, we're not giving up one of our 8. No, that ain't happening.
I would like to see the people of Wisconsin go to London, though. That would be worth seeing. Yeah,
drink up all their warm beer. It's just I hate the London games. I hate them. I think they're stupid. I think they for the Chiefs. Let's use the Chiefs as a great example. The Chiefs are a good team. They're probably going to be a good team next year. Maybe the Broncos take a little bit of a step back. The Chiefs are going to play 7 home games, and the Broncos are going to play 8, or the Chargers, or whoever. That is a competitive disadvantage. You are screwing with the NFL season at that point. You want to send them over for a preseason game? Fine, great. Send 10 preseason games. I could care less. But now you are just, for whatever small financial benefit you're getting from exposing NFL fans or London fans to the NFL, you're screwing with the NFL season, and I hate that. I think it's unfair. I think nobody in America likes it. Nobody's like, yeah, London games, awesome, except for the early start, which I hope they do again. It's just, what's the point of all this, Roger Goodell? What is the point of doing this? Nobody wants this.
I don't really have a lot of interaction with English people, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. It's not a crowd I run with here in the suburbs of Chicago, but people in England like the NFL.
They do, and that's great.
And they're selling the games out, I guess.
People in America like English Premier League soccer. They're not sending a team here just because of that. You know what? The fact is, American fans, and I have nothing against English fans. I really don't. They're fine. They're great. American fans.
Now the French.
Yeah, so I'll get you started on Russian fans. But the American fans have built the NFL into a $9 billion empire. We did this. The American fans, we did this. Why are you taking games away from us? Why are you taking a team away from us? Because we all know that's going to happen. I mean, we all know some poor team's going to London. They're going to suck. And it's going to be a huge failure. But they're going to do it because Roger Goodell thinks he can make a couple more bucks. Why? We, as American fans, built this thing. We made this the most popular sport in American history. And now what are you doing to us? Why are you doing this? I just don't get what the end game is. I don't get the benefit of this.
I'm standing here.
Put Lee Greenwood in as.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm standing here pledging allegiance, and God bless the USA.
And they're not sending an EPL team here. Like, make it a trade then. Okay, we'll send you the Jacksonville Jaguars. You send us Manchester City. Let's go. Okay, we'll put Manchester City in Washington D.C. and we're good. We have an even trade. No, that's never going to happen. Because EPL's not stupid. That's why.
Game you'd pay to see. Apparently, you would not buy a ticket for Wembley Stadium. But which one would you be ponying up for?
Actually, I wouldn't mind going. If you guys sent me there, if like Yahoo was like, "Hey, you want to go to London?" I'd be on the first flight. Yeah, hey, sure. It's got to be Packers Bears, right? I mean, I probably took your game, Kevin. This because A, it's the best rivalry in sports, and B, this is it for the Bears. This is last call. Like you want to make something out of your season, Chicago Bears. You better win here because 3-6, you are done. So I think this is a kitchen sink game for the Bears. I think they're giving an A+ effort. I honestly think they could pull off the upset. I don't think it's crazy to think they could pull off the upset anyway.
Yeah. Today is the 15-year anniversary of the ghost of Walter Payton. Rising Brian Robinson up to block that field goal at Lambeau Field. Ryan Longwell. It's just an awesome game. If you have a chance, I think it's on ChicagoBears.com. They have a good oral history of that game.
They do. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Over like a week,
a couple days after Walter Payton's death, and it was a big win for me because I was a junior at the University of Wisconsin, and it was the first time that the Bears had beat the Packers while I was enrolled in school there. So it was huge. I was dancing in my apartment by myself. I was happy, crying.
That's I'm not even sure where to go with that one. So it's sitting right there. All right. My brother lives in Tampa, and for a while he and I would have a bet on the two games. We do it by point differential, so that whoever got the most points over the course of the two games would buy the other a bottle of liquor. And I think I forgot to make that bet this year, and I'm an idiot because the Falcons had that 56-14 win over Tampa Bay. I would not pay to see that game. I would make my brother pay to take me. I would instead look to go to the San Francisco 49ers New Orleans Saints game for exactly the reasons that we mentioned. This is a critical game for San Francisco. New Orleans can prove that it's legit against a team that at least used to be a Super Bowl contender, so that's where I would go.
Since I can't pick the Bears, Packers, or I'll pick.
We can go
else.
together, Kevin. It's okay.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
I don't want to drive down back 94 that late at night. So that's a dark, lonely drive.
They're so soft.
Especially once the Bears lose 40-14. I'm gonna go up to Buffalo. Chiefs at the Bills. I think it's a pretty interesting one. Get that Chiefs defensive line. See what they can do with Kyle Orton. See if Kyle Orton can hook up with Sammy Watkins a few more times. And it's a playoff picture game.
It's a huge playoff game. Yeah, it's a huge playoff picture game. And one of those teams is going to have one more win and the tiebreaker. We've talked about this huge logjam, and neither of those teams are winning their division, obviously. We've talked about this huge logjam, and there are two of them right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like whoever loses this game isn't getting into the playoffs.
No, you're going to need to go at least 4-2 down the stretch if you lose this game. I mean, if you got to get to 10 wins somehow, and the loser of this game is going to be 5-4. And I think both of these teams are good. I really do. But they both took some losses they probably shouldn't have taken, and here we are. And this is it has the feel almost of an elimination game, like. Not elimination, but if you're really behind,
yeah, exactly.
It almost is a lose lose. You're really behind it now if you lose this game. If you're the Bills and you lose this game at home, you really got to make up some ground in the last 6 games. Then.
Loser leaves town match would be like kind of incredible for the NFL. Like, sorry, you can't play the rest of the
loser goes to London.
Loser goes to London. That's awesome. By the way, I did throw this out on Twitter. I said basically that no American fans like the London game, and I didn't get any brushback on that. But the one thing I heard was, actually, I love the early start. Yeah, that's the thing that saves the London game, and I hope the NFL realizes it because there are enough football junkies out there that if you throw on a game at 7 a.m. or whatever time zone you're in, people are going to be like, "Yeah, NFL football, 7 a.m. Sweet, let's go."
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing they could say
for the 3 games last year, but I'd be surprised if all 3 didn't start at 9:30.
You almost have to, right? I mean, I thought it was a huge success.
But that's part of like what's always made the London game weird to me is like, okay, well, you stick it in with 7 other games on at 12 o'clock. Yeah. Like, okay, great, big deal. Yeah,
it's just you're looking at all these games on the screen, and one of them's at night, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, it's London. Like, that's the only thing that was different. It was just, they didn't do anything to make it special or unique, but the early start was, and you got a great game out of it. That Falcons-Lions game was really fun. So I think that the NFL, if they just put that thing, back at 1 p.m. Eastern time next year, they've just missed out on an opportunity.
Either that or they mandate that each team has to use members of the English Premier League as kickers. Just throw a little wrinkle into it that way.
That would be fun. I like that.
Just add some actual British flavor to it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great suggestion.
Solid.
All right. Well, we will be back on Tuesday to talk about everything that happens on Sunday and everything coming up in Week 11. Headed down the home stretch here on the Shutdown Corner podcast. Thank you for joining us. What's that?
I said it's getting late. It's crept up on us. I was sitting here talking about the Bills and Chiefs having 6 games left after this week. It's like, wow, okay.
That's crazy. We are down the home stretch. Thanksgiving's coming up, and we always have fun talking about Thanksgiving stuff. But first, lots and lots of football, and we're glad that you join us each and every week. Kevin Kaduk here with Frank Schwab and Jay Busbee. Thanks for joining us.